When you're standing in front of a shelf of blank phone cases, a stack of acrylic signs, or a batch of wooden keychains, the question that keeps coming back is simple. Will this printer actually let me turn those raw materials into sellable products without turning my workspace into a science lab? I've spent the last few weeks digging into how a compact UV flatbed printer fits into a small business workflow, looking at everything from the unboxing to the day-to-day quirks that only show up after the first dozen prints. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. What follows is an attempt to strip away the hype and help you decide if the DXZ 2026 upgraded A4 UV printer is the tool that will move you from prototype to profit, or if it's a pricey hobby that will sit idle. First, let's talk about the actual setup you'll face. The box arrives with the printer chassis, a bottle holder, 6 500ml UV ink cartridges, and a short user manual. You unpack, attach the bottle holder to the side, slide the ink bottles into place, and plug the unit into a standard 220V outlet. The machine powers up, runs a self-diagnostic, and then prompts you to level the vacuum platform. The vacuum platform is a clever piece of engineering. It uses suction to keep thin sheets of material flat while the print head moves across. In practice, I found the leveling process to be straightforward. A couple of adjustment knobs and a quick test print are enough to get a solid, wobble-free surface. The real, hidden part of the setup is ventilation. UV curing lights emit ozone, so a well-ventilated room or a small exhaust fan is advisable. If you're in a cramped studio, you'll need to factor that in before you even think about the first print. Now for the daily usability. The DXZ 2026 runs on a desktop-size footprint, which makes it fit comfortably on a workbench alongside a laptop, a cutter, and a few rolls of material. The control software is a Windows-based application that lets you import a design, position it on a virtual canvas, and select whether you want a flat, glossy, or embossed finish. The emboss option is where the printer truly differentiates itself. It can raise certain areas of the print by a fraction of a millimeter, giving a tactile feel that's useful for things like branded phone case logos or premium business cards. In my testing, the emboss effect was noticeable but subtle enough to feel distinct when you run a finger over it, without looking like a raised sticker. The white ink mixing system works automatically. You just select white in the software, and the machine blends the right amount of white pigment with the clear UV base. The result is a consistent, opaque white that adheres well to dark substrates like black acrylic or metal. The value proposition starts to become clearer when you consider the range of materials you can feed into the printer. The spec sheet says 300 plus materials, and in real life that translates to anything you can lay flat and hold with suction. Acrylic sheets for signage, glass panels for decorative pieces, plywood for custom coasters, metal plaques for nameplates. And, of course, the ever-popular polymer phone cases. I ran a batch of 30mm acrylic tags with a colorful logo and a white background. The colors were vibrant, the white underlay was solid, and the curing time was under a minute per sheet. When I switched to a thin wood veneer, the same file printed cleanly, and the emboss gave the logo a slight depth that made the piece feel higher end. That flexibility is where the machine earns its price tag. You can consolidate several specialty printers into one footprint. But no machine is without its trade-offs. The first limitation is size. Being an A4 printer, you're capped at 210,297mm printable area. If your business model revolves around larger signage, banners, or even standard A3 photo prints, you'll quickly outgrow this machine and need to invest in a larger flatbed. The second is ink consumption. While the bundled 6 500ml cartridges sound generous, each print on dense material uses a noticeable amount of UV ink, especially if you add white and emboss layers. If you're cranking out high-volume orders, you'll find yourself ordering refills more often than you might expect. The included 2-year ink supply is a nice buffer for a startup, but beyond that you'll need to source compatible cartridges, and the cost per milliliter can add up. Lastly, the learning curve around UV curing shouldn't be dismissed. The printer handles the curing internally, but you still need to be mindful of ambient temperature and humidity. The ink can behave differently on a cold morning versus a warm afternoon, which can affect adhesion on materials like glass. A small amount of trial and error is inevitable, and you'll want to keep a log of settings for each material type. Who should consider buying this printer? If you're a maker-turned-entrepreneur who already sells customized phone cases, small acrylic decor, or boutique wooden accessories, the DXZ 2026 gives you a way to produce professional-grade pieces in-house without outsourcing to a larger print shop. The